Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back. It's Friday, or as we all know, the cool kids say, Friday. It is January 14th, 2022. Welcome aboard, everybody. This is the Crushing Iron Podcast. We are episode 547.
Yep. Hey, what's better, Friday or Sunday Fun Day?
Depends on the version of Robbie you ask. The 10 years ago, Robbie would have said Sunday Fun Day for
I think
sure.
I might have learned Sunday Fun Day from you.
I think you.
Sunday.
I mean,
Fun Day.
for me
It's
back then, every day was
I gotta
Sunday.
go to work tomorrow.
There's
nothing fun about Sunday.
For every day back then, for me was Sunday Fun Day. We're hoping you are having an awesome Friday, and as always, we love you. We appreciate you. If you're first time tuning in, welcome. We know you have a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe. And just podcasts in general. We know your time is valuable, so we appreciate you tuning in today. We cover it all. We do swim, bike, and run specific podcasts. We do race recaps. We'll do race previews. We'll have on a guest about once a year. But for the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, best friends, athletes, just try to sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through in life and training, what our athletes are going through. We work with a very wide range of athletes across the globe, from beginner-level athletes who have never raced before ever, to elite level amateurs, and we'll use the discussion we have with them, training piece comments, just kind of the back and forth communication we have to drive the topic of the day. Sometimes we'll also go into our Facebook group, as we will today, and check the vibe of the community in there, let them offer up some questions that we can go after and hopefully answer in a way that is helpful. That group, again, is Crushing Iron Group. You can search that again on Facebook, answer one simple question, we'll let you right in. But that's it. We have no sponsors. We have no ads. We do have an agenda, though, and that's to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And for those of you on the edge of your seat, we have a update. The haircut went well.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You gave me a solid compliment.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I thought you were hitting on me for a minute. I walked in yesterday.
Man, I'm like,
you walked in yesterday, man, because if you may have heard, my usual hairstylist, was taking over some operation stuff for a little bit of dilemma, and she hooked me up with her girl Jane, said, I'll leave some notes, and, you can help guide her the way. And I had to tell her to take a little bit more off the sides than she had, but other than that, she was great. And you walked in the door yesterday, and you looked at me, and you go, whoa. And I was like, yeah, I know, she came strong. So, listen, it went well. It went well as far as the traditional white man 40-year-old haircut goes. It was pretty much on point. You did well, Jane. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Take risks, and you end up winning.
I was just kind of doing a little experiment. My heart rate went up about 5 points when this cast started.
Oh, really? Yeah. I was wondering why you're messing with your watch. I was like, I never see you messing with your watch and doing stuff. Have you got a heart rate strap on?
No, I don't, but I'm just goofing around here. I'm barely alive, actually. So
you're barely alive.
I mean, it's in that, I don't even know, it's way down in the gray. So
yeah, I hear you.
Anyway, we'll pick it up.
You had something to say? We got questions to go into, but you feel like you had something else on your mind. You're feeling kind of lively this morning.
Yeah, considering I'm half in the grave with this heart rate.
I was going to say, what, you got like a resting heart rate of 33?
Yeah, I checked it the other day. It wasn't far away from there. It's very much, thankful to my deep breathing and meditations.
That's true.
As you get old, I was kind of looking at that. I mean, do we put any stock in those heart rate charts for the resting heart rate?
It's
a little bit, probably.
It depends. It depends, right? It's not like you can't. Listen, one thing isn't something to like make create a data set and create zones off of, right? You have to take everything listed, as far as like a week to 2 weeks. You have to see trends before you can start to make adjustments. You can't just throw a dart against the board and hopefully hit the nail on the head. So yeah, I mean it's something you should track over time if you're going to consistently track it over time. If you do it for people just take one, like, I think I'm going to go ahead and set this. I'm like, no, this life is not about one day. It's about everything. So you always have to kind of like literally take the pulse of what's going on in your life and adjust it accordingly.
Yeah. Okay.
But
yeah, I don't have much to say. I think this is going to be a kinder, gentler podcast than we've had in the last few.
It is. It is a bright sunshiny,
you seem like you're kind of like, all right, it's Friday.
And we're just Friday. We're good, man. Things are rocking and rolling. It's a beautiful day. It's a great year. It's a great week. Let's do this. We had some solid questions. Again, we popped into our Facebook group. and let them rattle off a few questions for us to get to. And I'll go with the first one. A couple great questions off the bat. Andrew Sen, A, B, and C races. What's the feeling about peppering in some non-target races into the schedule? I'm planning on doing so because some of them are just fun to do. It is great to meet up with folks I would normally do outside running or bike racing. I think you should always put in, listen, you race as much as you want. I think it's just I think people tend to think of all races as the same, or all races as, requiring a huge taper and a huge build and all these things. But the fact of the matter is that you can treat a race however you want. You can treat it as a workout. And the fact is races are incredible workouts. So it's also very dependent on the distance and the demands, the intensity of these races you are, quote unquote, peppering in between your big races. If you're training for an Ironman, and you are going to pepper in a 5K, no big deal, right? It's really no matter where it is, you'll be fine. I wouldn't taper for it. I would keep, the train moving. I wouldn't, decrease, your volume because you've got a bigger goal, but include it, make it part of your training week. Don't, you can go to race it and be competitive and see what happens and, get the camaraderie in the community, run with your fellas, your ladies, whatever it is. But, either, don't drastically decrease your volume for the week because you still need that volume. But what I would do is decrease some of the earlier week intensity you might because you're about to get all the intensity, right? On ways you're about to get, 30 minutes if you're doing a 5K or less, 20 minutes of zone 4, zone 5, blistering. You don't want to be too overly fatigued, which is also something you need to be real careful about when you go out and you rip these short course races. If you're training long distance and depending on where you are in your build phase and your peak phase, if you're doing, if in your, and that's one of the things that we always talk about in terms of why we rarely, if ever, do any kind of track session. We do speed work. It's just not 200s, 400s. When you get further along into your Ironman build, you're already kind of teetering on the edge and the brink of not overtraining, but what your body can handle. You're maximizing hopefully the amount of stress you can allocate towards an athlete within that year, within that week and within that block. So when you are already you're not limping around, but you all know if you train for a longer distance where it's half marathon, 70.3, full, what it feels like to have just kind of a base level fatigue in your body. You're just carrying a little bit more fatigue, accumulated fatigue, if you will, one of our podcast titles. And so what you don't want to do is be carrying in a ton of accumulated fatigue and then go out and try to rip off a half marathon. It might not go over. You're asking for injury, right? Something like that. So, or maybe even Olympic distance, but give yourself 1 or 2 day taper, blend it in, but, go out and race it. But I wouldn't adjust your training plan too significantly, to pepper in these. But again, it's all very dependent on the length, the duration, the intensity, and how much you're going to really, really go after it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he's solid anyway. He can do it. I know him. But
speaking personally, I hear you.
Yeah. I mean, my thing about that is it's sort of that game speed thing, that I think is always a little bit of a good reminder. I talked about last time, but I hadn't raced since Ironman Wisconsin. It was almost 2 years before since I did a race. And I really felt a little rusty. And I think that, I've had, been talking to some more people about, we're doing some testing, and to find their zones and all that. But I think the hidden benefit of that is that, it kind of pushes you to push a little bit. Cause we get that question a lot, is I don't know if I'm pushing hard enough. And I think it's good to remind yourself of that. And I think these these 5Ks and 10Ks and other things like that are really good ways to sort of just kind of keep yourself sharp, even if you're not going to blast yourself. Because trust me, I've done an Olympic before where it has just wiped me out for the next week, because I think I went too hard going into it, and then I went too hard in it, and then I thought, wow, it's just Olympic. I'm training for Ironman, right? But you do have to be a little bit careful about it, and I think right afterwards and right before you don't want to super taper, but you just want to kind of keep it in. Like I said, if you're doing it and it's not your A race, just kind of go and work on the pacing and the control of it and stuff like that. I mean, instead of just completely being done at the end. And that feeling after workouts when you've pushed it too far, or you're just absolutely zapped. And you hate to have it be a disruptor, but I think it can be a complement to everything.
Yeah. And also, like I said before, like, understand what you are going to do. If you're a person who just can't race with the reins on, then know that, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but you have to approach the week leading to, like, this is back in, I'm saying like 5 years ago. I was kind of racing myself into shape. Like, I was in some pretty good shape, but I was like, I did, I think, like 3 races in like 5 weeks, but knowing, and they were like, it was that one in Dixon, that Dixon endurance try, that you were at. And then 2 other races that were local to me, and they were all Olympics, but those are hard efforts, right? Like, it's not just a 10K, it's a 10K off a hard bike. Like, you're redlining it. But in order to compensate for what I knew I was doing intensity wise in the races, the whole rest of my week was just zone 2, easy, except for a few, pickups to kind of get the legs back moving again and remind them what they're about to do the day before. Outside of that, it was all easy rides, easy running, because I knew there's no need to add intensity because I'm about to add 2 hours, right, of zone 3, zone 4 intensity and rip it, and so you don't need to continue to stack those and can stack that stress on top of each other, because then you're asking at some point to break, and then you're gonna have to take extended time off versus just kind of blending it into the week that you have right now. Nicole Winger, Coach Nicole. Hey, great question here. Consistently running, biking longer than what's planned for you. What could be the long-term consequences when training for a long course race? Excellent question. I think Nicole or Jennifer Powers commented below that. Yes, can I toss in bonus runs and rides at easy chill, zone 1, zone 2, more is better or worse? So these are both excellent questions, and we get these all the time. And I think there's an important shift for every athlete to have when they look at their week, right? Everyone looks at their week in Training Peaks in a vacuum. If you use Training Peaks, and you might say 12 hours, you might see 12 hours planned, think I can handle that. I can probably do a little bit more than that. Well, I think it's always important, and most coaches do this, they give you a little bit of a buffer, because on a regular, if you're a 9-to-5er with 2 kids, white picket fence, non-stressful life, you can probably push the needle, right? Because stress is low. But if you're an athlete that, maybe you're single, you got kids at home, your work is unpredictable, school is unpredictable, you need a stress buffer, right? Because again, and we've mentioned this before on many podcasts, is that your body only knows stress. It knows that you ran for 30 minutes. It has literally no idea how much mileage you put into it, right? And so if we talk about minutes of stress, and your body only recognizes stress, and your body, gets broken down with stress, you must look at the rest of your life, right? So if you have an athlete, so I'm saying, like, you can do a little bit more, maybe 10 to 15 minutes of cycling, maybe 5 minutes of extra running, because that still adds up a lot. Like, if you're going for running 30 minutes and you add on 5, that's a pretty significant percentage increase when you think about the percentage, not just the 5 minutes, but the percentage. But also look at the rest of your life, right? Like, if you've got, kids you're having to shuttle around from soccer practice 3 hours a day, and then you're also, it's like you get questioned like, well, I'm going to play hockey a few times a week. How can we weave that into our training? Well, we will weave it in by decreasing, right, the training volume that I would give you, because you're going out and you're playing hockey for 2 hours, 3 times a week. You can't just stack, right? There's no compartmentalization of stress. It's not, well, I got triathlon stress and life stress and spousal stress and work stress and kid stress and hockey stress and pickup basketball stress and karate stress and weightlifting stress. They don't each get their own bucket. You wake up and you are triathlete Johnny's stress bucket. That's it. So whatever you pour into that is stress. And the more you get towards the surface of that bucket, whether it's training, life, travel, anxiety, extracurricular activities, lawn work, whatever it is, it's like you're getting to the surface of that bucket. So if you go out on a Tuesday or Wednesday and you're like, all right, I'm going to put a little extra volume in, on this day. Well, you may have gone 5 to 6% percentage over what we would regularly recommend you taking on volume-wise, hours-wise for a week, and it might feel okay then, right? But let's say the rest of your week, Friday night, you're like, yeah, I'll play some pickup basketball, or you only get 3 hours of sleep because your kid is up, kid's up late. Well, now what do? Right? Do you skip a workout because you need to get your stress level back down when you already went over? I always tell athletes, if you're going to make a decision to add, quote unquote, a little bit extra, do it on the weekend. Don't do it on Monday, right? Where we're all kind of chomping at the bit. We're firing full cylinder. Do it on Saturday and Sunday when you really have a better, clear picture. The dust is settled with your kids and their school, hopefully, and activities. You have a real idea of really how your body feels, and you wake up Saturday morning, not Wednesday or Thursday, but then. And then make the decision if, okay, I'm maybe able to do an extra of my long, easy ride today. Nothing wrong with that. Same thing goes here. But usually at the end of a run on a Sunday after a full week, and you know you got a week coming to you, you're like, yeah, maybe a little bit more isn't really what I want. So again, it's not just about, stop looking at your calendar as just, stress and training peaks. Think about how much I have in life, right? Am I doing extra runs because I got a grouper and I've got a lead, or all these things? It's okay to add a little bit, but remember, it all goes towards the same pot, right? It all goes towards the stress level pot.
Mm-hmm. And we used to talk about these things a lot back when we were in Nashville and riding a lot together, like cafe rides. Mm-hmm. And I'm always amazed at how, if you ride, if say your rides for 2.5 hours or whatever, and you go sit down and have a little something to eat and relax for a minute, and then you come back out, and I feel like you almost are a different person after some recovery. We do that a lot at our camps, where we put in pretty big days, but we break it up and things like that. And like run camp, it's always amazing to me how much we can run over a 4-day period, but it's all broken up. And I talk about in-race recovery a lot and things like that, where I think if you it's just amazing to me how you can just take a few minutes or 20 minutes or a half hour or something like that and really kind of find some new energy in there. So for me, it's all about, if you're going to go out and ride an extra hour and you have a little, take a little break in there, I think that matters, because you're giving your body a chance to kind of settle back down, and then you're going to, depends on how you go after that extra hour. I'd just say, go after it easy and just ride how it feels. But for me, that's, it's like taking a little bit longer to swim or something like that, or you get your workout done and then you just see somebody, you talk to them for a little while, and then somebody's like, I got a little bit more in me. Mm-hmm. Let's go for it. So I think it's just, again, so much of this comes back to paying attention to your body.
And everybody talks about, because it's that time of year. It's like, oh, well, it's all, no matter what it is you eat, which isn't always true. It's mostly true, but it's all about calories in and calories out. Mm-hmm. Reframe that into, it's all about stress in and stress out. That's it. It's all about how much you're willing to, that's coming in with life and with training versus how much your body can expel at one time in one day. If you're getting adequate sleep and your diet's on point and you feel great and you have no forecasted, there's no likelihood of increased stress down the road, then don't do it. Right now, frankly, none of y'all should be looking at adding in. Like, you should be looking at hedging your bet, right? And you should, and this is most things in life, anticipate stress. Don't be anxious and depressed and scale things back, but anticipate it by, all right, is there a high likelihood things are going to get stressful this week? Yep. Is there a high likelihood and my kid's going to come in the middle of the night, waking up, and I'm going to get 4 hours of sleep? Yep. Is it likely that something's going to, come up and work that's going to be stressful? Yep. Then stop adding shit, right? Because guess what? You just told yourself that stuff's going to add up already. So it's always about accumulated stress.
Yeah. And then if you don't have enough energy to do that project at the house, that's going to add more. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the thing we have to keep in mind too, is like, you want this to supplement your life, not to take away from it. And then it's just sort of snowballs in reverse. Yeah, sometimes the stress quotient.
Exactly. It's never about, again, it's not about always more is better or worse. It's about the right amount, right? Mm-hmm. It's about the exact right amount.
Yeah. Should you eat the extra slice of pizza? Probably not.
Yeah, it depends. If it's from Southside Pizza, you probably should. Speaking of snacks and pizza and feeling windows, Elise says, favorite snacks, go-to meals in between a workout and post-workout, of course. It's in your fueling window. One of my absolute favorite snacks these days are pitted dates with some peanut butter. I mean, they are money. They are sweet. They are peanut buttery, which is, do you need anything else in life besides sweet, dates and peanut butter? No. Do yourself a favor, get some pitted dates, put a little, a small little piece of, they say small. I'm like, who says have a half tablespoon of peanut butter? No one. Like, give me the giant heaping scoop of it. put it in between a date, pop it in your mouth, and thank me later. It is incredible. It's one of my favorites. Say what else? Apple peanut butter is a great one. I'm a smoothie guy. And then another one is Greek yogurt and some frozen berries and a little bit of honey on top. That's another one of my go-to snacks. I know there's like all 4 of your least favorite things. I can see you cringing over there.
I was just cringing at the question because it's like I could actually use some input on this as well. I mean, I think it's a lot of times if I just go to a snack, it's sort of like just peanut butter on bread and I just have one piece of it. Something like that.
Dude, it's one of the best snacks of all time, PB&J.
Yeah.
You still can't beat it.
Right, yeah. I don't know. My diet is...
Your diet's all over the place,
It's
man.
all over the place, for sure. It's very... like I've been saying for a while now, if I could just find a diet that I like consistently. I mean, I don't know what it is, but like I was telling you the other day, it's like I'll go out and I'll feel like I'm going to eat some steak or whatever, and I'll have steaks. And not that that's a snack, but it could be, I suppose. But... I'll have a couple and then I'll be like, I don't feel like steak, for a while again. So it's just, I don't know. Maybe I need to.
Listen, you're that.
I think it has to do with setting the tone with the breakfast, and I can't find the breakfast I want.
Oh, dude, that's your whole problem. You can't start the day in chaos. You have to find a standard,
I know.
right? Like, and that's I can't speak to that wholly because you know me. Mm-hmm. I could eat this exact same meal every single day for the rest of my life and be totally just fine. Like I need
You're like
zero.
a dog, man.
Hey,
but I've said that all along. They eat the same thing and they just keep going.
Variety is for the week. That's all I'm saying. Variety is for the week. But yeah, find some go-to snacks. There's plenty of options out there. Like just don't eat crap. Like don't shove it. 3 Monster drinks and 5 Snickers down your hatch in between a workout. Like it might feel good. And it sounds good, except for the Monster drink thing. The first 30 seconds, but you're gonna pay for it 2 hours later. Yeah. You just are. It's like having that last sip of coffee at like 2. You haven't had it in like an hour and a half, and you're like, that's gonna make me feel good for the next 5 minutes. But then in an hour and a half, I'm gonna feel worse than I do right now. So, but there's a great listen. Start with the date. Start with the peanut butter. Find a routine with food. That's the thing. Find something you like, and even if you can just knock it out and eat the same thing for an extended period of time before you end up hating it for the rest of your life, that's fine too. But it's going to give you at least a head start, and find something you like. That's why there is a huge benefit for people like me who don't need that much variety. Is just that, like, if it's good and you like it, then keep doing it. I don't need freaking variation. Like if I know it works and it's good for me, then keep bringing it to the plate.
Yeah.
Speaking of throwing darts against the wall, great question from Corey France. I'm currently, hope it's how you pronounce your last name, France. I'm currently signed up for Ironman Wisconsin. It will be my 3rd Ironman. I did Louisville in 15 and Chattanooga in 17. I went 13:11 in Louisville and 12:09 in Chattanooga. I used the super simple Ironman training plan by Matt Fitzgerald. For I Am Chew, I rearranged it a bit and added some more hill running and brick workouts. Consistency isn't a problem for me, and I know how to listen to my body when it comes to fatigue. My question is, how would coaching benefit me for this next race? And how might a coach plan differ from what I've been doing? I'd really like to go sub 12 in Madison. Excellent question. There's a couple back and forths below, but excellent question. And I think there is a lot to be said for the variety and the different reasons athletes come and ask to be coached, right? You have athletes that want to be that need help being consistent, because they don't know what to do. They're lost, right? So even on the planes, they can't fully buy in because they're still confused, or they miss one day or 2 days and they feel their choice. Now the plan's no longer for them because you're not doing it perfectly, right? And still, let's be honest, like no plan is for you. No plan you buy off the internet is for you, because 98 different people could have purchased that day, and they're not all for 98 people. It's like, I always consider, and this is kind of how you kind of take nutrition and fueling in general sometimes, is like, I can go out once a year and cast a net into the water, and I might grab a few fish, right? Some pretty solid ones. Mm-hmm. And that's not bad. I'll go back to shore. I cast my net. I got some not good ones, but I got some pretty solid ones. I'm pretty happy with this net, approach. Go out the next year, and I ain't really getting any. But I still got a few good ones. Maybe I'm still good. I'm still doing it on my own. Then next year you might get 1 or 2 a little bit better. You're like, this is feel good. I'm still casting my net. But if you want to catch the big fish, if you want to go out on the chartered boat with the guide who knows the spots, right? Who knows what lures to use, what time of day, the depth of the water, where the big ones are. You don't go out on your own. You don't guess. You don't pinpoint, where in the water in the ocean you're going to go to. You get a guide. You hop in the boat. You sit back, relax. They drive you out there. They say, all right, put this on, drop it, and then see what you get. Then you pull out a 300-pound effing swordfish. Okay, that's the difference in purchasing a plan off the internet and having a coach. Is that you might on a plan you could be wildly quote unquote successful up to a degree, right? It's like swinging at a piñata. Sometimes you might just crack it, but isn't it better to take the blindfold off, right? And that's that. So you might have some good results that to you seem, all right, these are good. I don't need anything else.
Right.
But if you want to catch the big fish, or the big fish might be a PR, or might be tackling a race, or doing this, it's always easier to have someone with experience making it for you, making one for Corey France or Mike Turali or, Billy Bob Joe for you. But a huge part and a huge piece, again, for other athletes is, some athletes need it for, the feedback. They don't want to think about it. It removes the stress from their life. Some people need, again, that little bit of extra piece of motivation, knowing someone's looking. A lot of people say, I just need to know someone's looking. Yeah. Someone's paying attention. It's not just me. It's a team. You're doing it with someone. Some people, but a lot of athletes I've always found in the 10 to 15 years I've been coaching, the athletes who struggle the most with being coached are the ones with trust issues. They don't trust anyone else but themselves. And they would rather go the route of, and some people like self-coaching, which is great. I know a lot of athletes who are very successful. They know their bodies very well. They're experienced, and most of them have been coached before, so they kind of know the ins and outs of what it's like and what's needed. But for the most part, it's a control thing. It's like I'd rather be good, or quote, kind of be good and pretty good at what I've been doing, but be in total control, versus feeling really uncomfortable giving up all that, quote unquote, giving up all that control to someone else.
Yeah. I always talk about the benefits, and I have this concept called, I think the wins are in the weeds. And as a coach that goes in every couple days or so and is commenting back and forth with athletes, a lot of times what happens is things become discovered without thinking about it. Mm-hmm. So like if an athlete comments on something and they just randomly put it out there, I'll be like, yeah, that's what you need to be focused on. And that's what's the best part about today or whatever. And I think that that communication channel back and forth, and, I'm all about, working with athletes. I'm not like super dictatorish, but, sometimes there's things in there that they're working on that probably aren't the best things to be thinking about. So I'll just say, let's stop spending time with whatever that is, and let's focus on what you're doing over here, because in the long run, think about the race you're doing at Wisconsin. You need to be strong, the hills and all these kinds of things, or the way you handled that workout, and we need to be kind of focused on doing more of this and for the specific course. And those are the things, man, that I don't know. I just think, like you're saying, sometimes people need somebody looking in on it, and I think it's always, always better to have somebody to bounce things off of. And, I have a tendency to kind of start, like I've always sort of self-coached, but I think, when we're bouncing things, of course we're doing podcasts all the time, so I kind of consider this my coaching. And then, but we're day to day, we're just bouncing things off each other. We always like, what? I tried this today. What do you think? Oh yeah. So there's always little things like that. And just the idea that, we've seen so much over the time, and it can save you maybe a month's worth of searching, in one day or whatever that may be. And, I don't know. I think especially with a course like Wisconsin, for example, where we're very familiar with it. We've done it many times, and there's just little things that you can kind of pull out of there, I think. And
you said something, yeah. And you said something there that I think a lot of people don't really fully grasp, that are usually on the fence with coaching, or they don't understand. It's like you said, it's not a dictatorship, right? It's a relationship, right? It's not like one of us are more in charge than the other. It's that we are working towards a common goal. And you can have, like, I have an athlete who, because it's our job to adapt to yes, you have a goal But ultimately, it's your journey. You can do whatever you want to do with it, whenever you want to with it, right? It's our job to complement that. You know, I've got an athlete who was recruited to be on like one of the Zwift racing teams, and he was like, I got these, you know, races every single Tuesday on these dates for the next 3 months. And I was like, okay, I'll take care of the rest. You know, it's like, so it's your job not to be like, oh, well, during these, you need to do this. I'm like, no, I know what you're going to get, and it's me, a hard workout, but what I need to do is work Monday, Wednesday through Sunday around what I know you're going to do on Tuesday, right? It's not you work around what we want to do. It's we work around what you want to do to get you to where you want to go. And so again, it could be, you know, it doesn't have to be consistency, but going back to the casting net or going out and looking for the big fish, you know, if you really, really, really want to go out and go for the big fish and really get the best return on your time and really, really know, you get the guide, right? You get out the charter boat, you hop out. You don't just go rent a sup board from, you know, Randy Hasselhoff down the, you know, for $45 down the beach. But okay, I think I'm gonna take your paddleboard out today, Randy, and I'm gonna go try to catch some swordfish, my paddleboard and a few worms I got from the bait shop. You're gonna come back with jack shit, okay? But you might get lucky and catch a few, you know, like, you know, whatever they have in the ocean. That's not a, you know, that's not a freaking you know, swordfish. You know, you get the analogy. Come on. I know. I had it good, then I lost it. Sheila Taylor. Or no, excuse me, I skipped that. Brandon Rudder. Cool down, post-ride, run, or swim. How important is it to complete them, or is it okay to just skip? You and I vary differently on the whole cool down process, and then the stretching and the yoga and the stuff. I haven't stretched in like 10 years. I haven't done yoga in my life.
Yeah, you'll figure it out.
I don't cool down. I don't cool down or warm. I don't warm up ever. I literally walk out the door and run. Sometimes I'll do some activation stuff, but my walk to me is just walking back home. You know, like up my freaking hill, which is no freaking warm up. It's usually the highest heart rate. But to me, it's like I need to get done. Generally, if it's an easy run, you don't need to cool down. You just rain easy. If it's something hard, then you got to give yourself at least 5 to 10 minutes, I think, to spin it out. Like if you do like a really, really hard workout session, boom, your last interval's over. Don't get off the bike. You're going to regret it. Okay. You're going to be more sore the next day. I'd rather you peel off the last 2 or 3 intervals to give yourselves 5 to 10 minutes of easy spinning. If it's hard, then do the extra intervals and just hop right off the bike and be done. Right. Same thing with running. Like if you got like, you know, a workout with some, you know, some harder stuff towards the end, don't cut the intensity short on the end. So you can give yourself at least 5 minutes to kind of chill out, or give yourself time, you know, a distance, go further on your run if you're doing it by time, which you should be, come back and then walk your way home as you're kind of cool down. Don't sprint to the door, walk in, you know, run upstairs, take a shower, do this. You're going to regret it. Mm-hmm. You know, so again, it's based on the intensity level of the workout, not just every workout.
Yeah. I just generally have a philosophy that you should slowly raise your heart rate and slowly lower it, rather than, you know, being it like when you're in college and you're in the shower and your roommate comes in and throws a bucket of ice on your head, you know, or you get scared out of your wit, you know, when your heart rate just goes. I just think that's not probably the best thing for you. And I always talk about building into a race or building out of it, or, you know, building up strong at the end. And then, you know, of course your heart rate or your cool down after a race is just kind of chilling out pizza. But in general, I think it's important to kind of at least ramp things down or ramp things up. So, you know, I think that also is individual. You know, for me, you know, with a resting heart rate of 35 and and then I go straight to 170, you know, I don't think that's a good thing. So I like to warm up. I like to do those kind of things, or certainly on a treadmill, I'll walk for a little bit and then kind of ease it up and then start going, because I just feel better when I go slow into it. And then I think I feel better when I come out of it. But I got to admit, yeah, the cool down isn't always the most enticing part of a warm up, you know, but you know, I think it also just generally lends to your patience, you know, practice.
Very, very true.
You know what I mean? Because it's so easy just to be like, I just nailed that. I'm off.
And I think you bring up something great, which I think people, they don't recognize, is that, you know, people, I cut the warm up short. You know, it's like you usually get long warm-ups for a reason, right? Like early part of the season, volume isn't high, intensity is not high. You can probably just kind of move your way on to the work, you know, because you ain't that sore, you're not carrying that much fatigue. But the more fatigue you get, the longer it takes to find your legs, the longer it takes. Because to me, it's more about, stop calling it warm up, start calling it discovery. Okay. I got 10 to 15 minutes to 20 minutes of discovery today. Let me figure out who I am before I really tackle this. Right. It's like going into something blindfolded, right? It's like it could be a lawyer walking into a courtroom having no idea what case they're about to, have. They just kind of walk in blind, or they can have, a little bit of time to prepare. Have time to prepare, especially the more fatigued, the more tired you are. Find a way to be prepared, right? And that gives you, and again, going back to the first question we had, or second question, it still gives you time to hedge your bet, right? Figure out who you are. Gives you an opportunity to really know, how much stress do I have to give today? Do I have a lot? I better find out. And you're going to know really 10 to 15 minutes in the warm up, but sometimes you won't know. Don't make a judgment the first minute, make it after the 20th, or even like on long rides. Again, that's why we always, for the most part, give long rides, 70.3 Ironman training. It's higher intensity on the back end because A, it's great adaptation, but two, if you're in like a pretty big block, it takes you every bit an hour and a half, 2 hours just to get your legs underneath you. Like I'll never forget, I know I mentioned this many times, but the ride you and I did on the Trace where the first 3 miles, 4 or 5 miles, I've never seen you so pissed off and cranky. You just couldn't find your legs. Like they were shot. You were getting up out of your saddle. You were doing sprints. You were just, let me find them. And then finally you found them. And we went out, 30 miles out and did some hill repeats on the favorite part of Trace, and you were fine. We got to give ourselves time to figure it out. And that's why, especially the warm up, in my opinion, is important, but also the cool down, depending on how much intensity you have.
Yeah.
You're all about that.
I'm all about that.
All about that. Sheila Taylor, I have really picked up my strength training and I'm seeing the reward of this. I wonder how often can we strength train once we get closer to A races? What is recommended? Again, super dependent, but also again, going back to the stress level. If are you adding more stress that's not allocated towards swim, bike, and run? Most coaches, even strength training coaches, would tell you that's when if you're going to do big, heavy you're going to allocate a lot of your weekly stress to weightlifting, then the closer you get to race day, then do it far away from race day. Once you get closer to race day, just go to maintenance mode, right? Just keep doing it enough to keep it or to not lose a lot of it, build up what keep what you've built up or maybe lose just a smidgen of it. Don't try to continue to increase, your squats and your leg press and all these things where you're also trying to up your swim, up your bike, up your run. They all work together or they can all work against each other. And then again, that is why coaching and training for triathlon can be so difficult, is that it's so many pieces, right? In a puzzle. It's not just triathlon, it's life. And you got to know when to scale back and when to push forward. So, 8 to 12 weeks out, go into maintenance mode. You can keep doing it. If you've been doing it for 20 to 26 weeks, 30 weeks, keep doing it. You're not going to know. You're not going to be sore, right? Mm-hmm. The next day, just keep doing it to hold it, but allow for more opportunity for stress for the thing you're about to do. You're not about to go be a bodybuilder or a CrossFit champ. You're about to go to a big race.
Yeah. This is a really good one because it seems to be, like more and more people think about strength, and when I just don't think about it all the time as in weight training either, so the maintenance thing that you just said, I think is a really good one, but because if you can't like do lunges, if you're feeling weak that you can't even body weight your own lunge, you probably could keep doing it. You know what I mean? Because you need to build up strength. And I think that's always the thing, right? Is that body weight stuff kind of just gives you a baseline for like, you need to be able to do these sorts of things before you think about doing weights. And, if you can't do them without weights, you're probably doing bad form. Who knows what's going on there? So yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like the warm up thing we were talking about. Like for me, those are the kind of things I like to do for warm ups. And how many people probably, like I do 15 minutes in the morning of just sort of this yoga routine. It's 15 minutes. I don't feel like it zaps me. It wakes me up and gets things kind of firing. So for me, that's the stuff, and it just has to be consistent. But I think you're right. Don't go to the point where, how many times you see, it's a little sore today from the squats and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think you want that. And I think, the thing is to alleviate soreness as you're going in, as in general. So why add to it, I guess, is the way to look at it.
Yeah, don't do your sprints 30 seconds in, and don't do your weightlifting and stuff, your supersets trying to increase weight 2 weeks before your Ironman, right? So it's like it's generally, when we step back and think about it, it's generally just common sense stuff. That if we really kind of think about, all right, does that make sense to me? No, it doesn't make sense. All right, so maybe I'll just, build it out later and then, understand what your race is. John Fellows, that's a solid name, John Fellows. I did a 70.3 event last year, and I'm training for a full Ironman distance event at the end of July this year. Would it be reasonable that I could take a few weeks off to recover from that, but still be in a good state to attack a 70.3 at the end of September? 100%. If you're doing a full in July, then especially if it's late July, and if we're talking fulls here, unless you're across the pond, you're probably talking about Lake Placid. That's end of July. Yeah, you just did an Ironman, right? It's so funny how we always see it in like October, November when people do like, again, September Ironman races. They take 2 weeks off and they're like, I've gotten so out of shape.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like I've lost it all. I'm like, dude, really? You just had like an incredible season. You were as fit as you can be 2 weeks ago, and you carried yourself over 140 miles. So if I removed the word race from it and I just called it, you trained and did 140, you trained for 11 hours or 12 hours, whatever it is, 9 hours, 13, 14 hours at a pretty solid clip just 13 days ago. And you telling me you out of shape? It's like we all become such like, again, prisoner of the moment with like, I've just lost it all. Like it's gone. No, you're not. You're gonna be in great shape. If anything, you could probably lower traditional 70.3 volume and just kind of layer on some more icing on your cake, because you probably don't have as much. You probably have a lot more cake with a little bit less icing for an Ironman versus 70.3. A little bit less cake, more icing, because it's a little bit more of a faster pace, demand, intensity work. So yeah, John Fellows, you'd be all set, man.
Yeah. I agree with that, man. I think, that you finish an Ironman. Next week, I just walk, maybe do a little swimming, and then just do, easy stuff. Because I can just prove after my first Ironman, we did, you didn't, you did swim the suck. Yeah. And then I went down and did Goose Pond at half. Shape. Like a month later, I think it was. Mm-hmm. I legitimately did nothing.
No, you did. You did
after my full. So it was 1 month. I did 0. I wouldn't recommend that. But no. I went in, other than my swim fell apart, but I had a pretty good race.
You had your fitness. What you should have done is taken like the week before to just wake your body back up.
Right.
Instead of waking it back up at the start line of the swim. Right. It's like, you probably felt better at mile 3.
But that's what I'm saying. Did you keep the swimming going, the pounding, take the pounding out of it, let your body recover? I think that's the sauce. And I mean, other than the drafting penalty I got that day, I had a really good bike and run.
Yeah.
Consider it was a 14 miles.
It was a brutal 13 miles. They called it like flat and fast.
They had no mile markers.
Yeah,
I had no watch. I had no idea how fast I was going or anything. And it was, but I had a decent race.
Didn't you get pinged for a drafting penalty that race?
That's what I'm saying. I drafted. There was hardly anybody in the car. I think I got drafted.
Who says we're getting old? That was what, 8.5 years ago?
Oh, I know, man. I honestly think that I got a drafting penalty for getting behind a pickup truck with the back off mud flaps. I was riding. I mean, there's so many cars on the road. I was just like, screw it. I'm just going to ride behind this pickup guy for a while.
Outstanding.
I don't even know. I don't even think they had marshals out there.
I don't think they did either. Trigger alert.
Homer. The local guy beat me.
It was.
4 minutes.
Mayor Dan. Trigger alert. Is Ironman Texas actually going to happen this year? Well, in case you didn't pay attention, Ironman Texas happened last year. It was just in October. So yeah, it's going to happen this year. It's Texas. They don't give a shit. Moving on. Aaron Whitman. If you are a slower runner, slower being relative, hold on a second. I did a drop down and I lost you. Where'd you go, Aaron? There you go. If you are a quote unquote slower runner, marathon times average between 4:50 and 5:30, is time over distance still as important in training? I know the answer is yes, but mine is saying no. I'm moving to a time-based training plan for Ironman Lake Placid, and I have that worry in the back of my mind that I won't have the running distance in my legs. Great question. You said it all. I know the answer is yes, but my mind is saying no. But you already said it. The answer is yes. And it's still about time. And we discussed this previously in a couple questions ago. Is like your body only knows time and stress. It doesn't know distance. So when you think about ramping up in mileage and what you're asking your body to do, depending on how. So again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we've gone over it frequently. Let's say you're a 13-minute miler, and you increase 4 miles in your long run, which is not unheard of for some of these training plans you see. You jump from 16 to 20, right? Or 12 to 16, even in a week or 2 weeks. You just added an effing hour of stress because you ain't going to hold those 13 minutes for 4 more miles because your body's not ready for it, right? You can't jump that much. It's going to continue to get slower. So you're going to go from a 13 to a 1330, 1340. So you're adding, and my biggest problem with mileage is that you can't pre-quantify or target volume and stress because athlete B or athlete A could go out for 100-miler on the hilliest course ever, and it might take them 9 hours. Or they could head out on the group ride with the bros and clip off while they draft 100 miles in 5:10, right? Little bit of a difference in stress, right? It's just a much easier way and logical way to manage stress is to go by time versus mileage.
Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, it just brought up a thought. Depending on when that race is, don't we just kind of want to work on getting to be a faster runner? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people just kind of give in to the idea that they're going to be slow. But like if, you pick up a minute on your pace, then all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Like, I think we need to think about that and work on ways to, there's a million ways to get faster, obviously, at running. And I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I've seen so many people just slog and just go out and try to get the miles instead of like working in a shorter time frame to actually get better, whether that's running up hills or getting just to be a little bit of a stronger runner.
And the job is to get faster.
Right.
The job isn't to go.
We're not talking about getting you down to like an 8-minute pace or something like that, but like
but that's the goal, right? It's not to practice
headroom there.
Exactly. The problem isn't to overstress and go so long that you can't recover and become faster, right? It's so funny because everybody wants to go like by mileage when it talks about easy running, but very few people ever argue about, oh, well, I guess, I'm going to go out for a couple 0.39 mile repeats. And do it. No, you don't. You do it by like, I'm going to go hard for a minute, because that's how you accumulate. That's how you can really monitor stress. If I said, all right, go do, a quarter of a mile, unless they're on perfectly flat roads, right? Peaking for a marathon or something. You're not like, all right, Mike, I want you to go out today and run, 0.5 miles all out. Well, if you go run on the Greenway, that's a piece of, like, not a piece of cake, but I know what you're going to get. If you go on the other side of the river, North Shore, Chattanooga, you're going to be smoked after one, right? Same quote unquote distance, right? Same intensity, but it might take you 45 seconds or a minute longer to go do it over there than to do it on this side of the river, right? That's a lot of extra time on an all out when you are going to accumulate. Because again, you're not asking for one, you're probably asking for like 4 or 5s. Now I said an extra rep or 2 or 3. It's all about time.
Yeah. When we talk about it, man,
about time.
Like for me, I think a lot of people get locked into their pace and they think that's their pace. And then it's like, but sometimes for me, it's easier to go a little faster. And it's just about relaxing and letting go of your body and things like that. And we talk about not looking at your watch or all these, just kind of let go of that like ball and chain that you got on yourself at that pace. Just kind of like push it every once in a while, but you don't have to like that mentality of, I was talking about when we're kids, we think about running as it's just, you got to really dig in and it's this messy looking thing. But if you watch we're all amazed, right, at watching the Kenyans out in marathons or whatever. And we're like, man, they're so smooth. It doesn't even look like they're trying. Mm-hmm. That's the goal. Like, your run doesn't have to be this crazy like monster chase. You know what I mean? Just relax and let things flow and start seeing a little bit lower pace now and then. And you'll be like, wait a minute, okay, maybe I do got this in me. And I think that breakthrough is where we need to be looking on the run. It's just like, start your whole season and say, I'm a 12-minute miler, and always just say, that's what it is. Let it go faster.
I love that. All right, last question for the day, because we got a lot. These are great questions, Dave. I might add you.
Really good.
We'll cover these on Monday. These are great. Iona, what is the best? This is an awesome question, and one I get a lot more frequently than I think people might imagine. What is the best timing for a week of vacation before and after races? Or in other words, how should you choose your races if you have fixed your vacation? Excellent question. Easiest one is if you can race the weekend before your vacation starts, ideal, right? Totally ideal. They couldn't ask for anything better. If you have to vacation before your race, it's dependent on the distance, but let's say you're doing a 70.3 or full. I always tell athletes, if you're doing September full, or you're 70, because again, it's all relative, is I always try to vacation at the end of your build block. Like at the end of you've done a lot of work, you've done a whole lot of strength work and maybe even some intensity, but you're in really, really, you're in really good shape. You're probably due for a good week of downtime. Take it, or if you have a late season race, October, November, even September, because as you know, I did this to you, you've mentioned before, it's also dependent on when you started training. Mm-hmm. It's not just timing, it's when you started training. You guys started training for Ironman Wisconsin in January, and I think I gave you guys a total week off in May, maybe June? Was that it?
Yeah, I was going to say, it was probably June.
Yeah, I said, you guys have already done a ton of work. And I was like, all right, week off, do what you want. You're like, what? Excuse me? We're getting close. I'm like, no, it's always good to recharge and take your mind away. You're like, I think I'm going to take my bike and my run shoes. I might even pack up my Vasa trainer to get some swims in because there's no pool there. And I'm going to take an extra trainer and my big screen TV for some Zwift. And I'm like, dude, just take some run, or just don't fucking work out at all. Like, recharge. You take enough time away from your family and friends already. What are you going to do? Because what's going to happen is you're going to bring all that crap, and then you're going to be that guy or that girl bringing all the crap, setting up your trainer in the middle of the tiled out beach floor, staring at the breeze. Everybody's like, dude, way to ruin the mood.
Yeah.
And then, or you're going to leave for a run or go to the pool at 5 a.m. and you're going to feel guilty as crap the entire time because your family's back there being like, I thought this was a vacation. If we were going to do this, why don't I stay at home? Take it. So it's either take it into your build phase or take it out. I mean, listen, people, don't overthink this. Okay. As long as you know your vacation ahead of time, you can ramp up to the vacation, make that just like your down recovery week and be done with it and then move on. Most people need that. Okay. More people need a vacation than to choose not to take one to quote unquote stay in shape or not lose their fitness. Most of you would do your body self a little bit of good to take time off. And we all need a mid-season break. Again, it's not about the timing in the year. It's about how close you are to your big race or how long you've been in big training. If you started training in May and your race is in September, then you probably want a vacation after your race. Maybe not before because you were on vacation the first 5 months of the year. But again, the easiest one, the simplest one is vacate right after or 2 weeks after, make that your staycation, or your race vacation and just kind of stay afterwards and just chill out. I know that'd be your ideal because your pet peeve is leaving day of race. Oh, to go back to work.
For sure.
You hear that, CC?
CC's coming in.
He is coming to town.
And I also think it kind of depends on what kind of vacation it is. Is it like a hedonistic swingers retreat? You might want to take that earlier in the year. But
it takes some antibiotics.
But seriously, some people go skiing. There you go. Bam.
Yeah, you ain't taking a vacation, right? You're working your butt off at altitude for a week. Don't tell me you need a recovery week when you get back. Yeah, probably.
You go on the beach. Don't take your bike. Just bike a lot before you go, and then do some running, easy running, or spend a lot of time in the water. I mean, I just think that if you got a pool. I mean, I'm not talking about swimming laps in the Cancun bar pool or anything like that. But even though you might want to do that once in a while, I mean, people don't care. But yeah, I think just spending a lot of time in the water, walking around. It makes you, actually probably gives you a little bit of, we talk about the pressure in water, kind of helps you recover and all that kind of stuff. Just, be active or not.
Dude, the the word
walk on the beach. I mean, come on.
The word vacation is the most overrated word on the planet. Because it is. Because do you know how many people, all of them, come back from vacation? What do they say?
I'm wiped.
I need a vacation from my vacation. You're like, well, it sounds like you didn't relax a lot. Like, so don't tell me when you go on vacation, it's like this. It's like telling me, I took today as a rest day. What'd you? Well, I went to 9 hours of my kid's softball game. I laid 45 bags of mulch and weeded the ditches. That's not a rest day. Okay, it's like we just have these like. It's permanent definitions of these words that are about rest and relaxation, but it's all about intent. What you do. Are you going to go lay around by the pool all day, lounge around, eat healthy, but just kind of, soak in the vitamin D and just not do anything? Maybe get in the pool, splash around with your kids, sleep in. That's a vacation. Like you said, if you're going to ski, or you're going to go out and be running around and doing theme parks all day long, that's not a vacation. Okay, that's a destination work week. Okay, that's not a vacation. Same with
that's like spectating 7 straight Ironman.
Exactly. Right. It's like you feel like a substitute teacher does on a field trip. Like that is not a vacation. Okay. Same thing goes for well, I took Sunday off of training. I was supposed to do an hour run, but I couldn't get to it because Johnny kept winning his baseball game, so I was out in the blazing sun for 7 hours at the baseball field. I barely ate. Then I had to come home and finish doing this and doing that, and then I had to mow the grass. I'm like, that is not a rest day. Like, in fact, that's worse than like running an hour and a half, right? Like, again, it's about stress. Be smart with it. And listen, in 2022, if you're going to go on vacation to relax, okay? Don't go substitute a field trip, and that's what most of you do. As always, we love you. These are excellent questions. This might be some of our best. Maybe I'm prisoner of the moment. These are excellent questions. Some other good ones we'll get to on Monday. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. As always, go to our website, c26triathlon.com. That's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. If you're still looking and haven't decided, you're on the fence, you're catching up, best get in the club, like 50 cents. And although yours isn't 50 cents, it's $3.49, I think. To hop in the club.
$3.49.
Yeah, $3.49. Let Mike take care of your year. We got some awesome stuff.
Yeah, it's about ready to end too.
Yeah, we're pretty much
wrap it
next.
up.
You're already over.
Might give you till Sunday.
Ooh, the hard close.
Well,
I like
just saying. It's time to get onto it. We got a really good group, and
it's time to get your year going.
Yeah,
okay? Saddle up, people.
Yeah,
saddle up. We saddle up this week. And if you have questions about coaching, click on our coaching tab, peruse our roster of coaches, make a choice. Same cup of coffee, different flavor. If you have any questions for Mike specifically, you can always get a hold of him. He is at crushingiron@gmail.com. And if you need anything from me specifically, I'm at c26coach@gmail.com.
All right,
dude. See you later.
Bye.